Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you Grotmas Day 18, and this one might be on the day of. I gotta admit, I don't know what it was, but something was telling me to be really excited for GSC as a Tyrannage player. Like, I don't play GSC, and I know everybody was asking for it. I don't know, I was just very excited for this, and I have to say, the final day, don't know why they didn't release this on the final day of Grotness, by the way. I just, like, that was an easy slam dunk. I don't know what the marketing's doing out here. Final day, put it on final day of Grotness, put the Chaos factions on their Chaos Day. I don't know. But anyway, it's good. I have a lot of tabs open. You can probably tell from my excitement that I think it's good. And I, I'm sorry, I don't know how long this video will go. I'm about to yap pretty hard. There's a lot of data sheets because there are a lot of interesting plays here. I this is cool. This is really cool. I might this is really cool. So, if you are new and wondering where everybody's getting these pages and things, Warhammer Community Downloads, it is right now recently updated, but it will be under Grotmis Detachments. So, let's get into the final day. Psionic Parasitism. At the end of your movement phase, for each Tyrannid Synapse unit from your army, you can select one friendly Genestealer cult unit, excluding Pure Strain Genestealer and Patriarch units, and one friendly Tyrannid unit, each within 9 inches of and visible to that Synapse unit. If you do, that Genestealer cult unit from your army suffers D3 plus 1 mortal wounds, and one model in the selected Tyrannid unit regains up to that many lost wounds, and until the start of your next movement phase. Each time a model in the selected Tyrannid unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Break it down if you haven't seen everybody else's breakdown of what this means already, okay? You have a Synapse, a Tyrannid Synapse unit. You also have a Tyrannid unit on one side and GSC that's not Patriarch and Pure Strain, another side. 9 inches. Both of those have to be 9 inches within the synapse. You can make the GSC unit suffer D3 plus 1 to heal whatever that number was to whatever Tyrannid unit, either the synapse probably or something else. You just need synapse to trigger the heal. Um, and then whatever receives the heal gets plus 1 to the hit roll. Now, being honest, probably don't want to use that like ever. Like it's probably not too necessary. You will usually get more from just having your GSC, but I will say to the same way that I said on my position for the guard Grotmis detachment, you probably, if you do want to really incorporate this efficiently, I'm assuming the best time would be when you are like 1 or 2 models left into the unit of your GSC unit, that is, because it heals one model of the Tyrannid unit. So if you just have like 2 aber aberrants, abominants are the big one, right? Aberrants the small ones. You have like 2 aberrants left. If you want to hurry up and get your usage of your resurgent points, probably pull them out of, I want to say out of combat, because it doesn't seem that there's a restriction of like outside of engagement range or anything like that. So you take them out and you probably use resurgence to have the full squad back in your strat reserves, and then you're free to heal about the cabin. The next part, Tyrannid units from your army have the following ability: Catalyst. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this unit, each time a friendly Genestealer cult unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll. I see a lot of people misreading this already. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of the Tyrannid unit, each time a friendly GSC unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll. You don't need to have your GSC next to Tyrannids. your tyranids have to be next to an enemy. That's insane. That is insane. That means, well, I have some things, but just because we all know where we're going with this, well, actually, let me finish reading this part. You can include Tyranids, Vanguard, Invader units, excluding aircraft, Broodlord, and Genestealers in your army. The combined points cost of such units depends on your battle size, 1,000 at 2,000 points, right? No Tyranids models from your army can be your Warlord. One more time. This says, while an enemy unit is within 6 inches of the Tyranids unit, each time a friendly GSC unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll. Not to give away too many of my schemes before I start going through all of these tabs. Let's just say a Lictor. Everybody's familiar with the Lictor. Has blown up infiltrate, right? If your Lictor is within 6 inches of an enemy unit, infiltrate it, your GSC units that make an attack into it have +1 to hit. Now, I could be the dumb one. I'm not gonna lie. I could be the one misinterpreting it, but let's just follow one more time, because I can't believe they've done this. Like, why don't I have this as a Tyranids player, right? Like, why don't I have this somewhere? This is fucked. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this unit. Each time. That's insane. That's insane. Synaptic Augur, 15 points. Sorry, we're getting to the enhancements. I'm excited. Tyranids model only. Each time the bearer would regain 1 or more lost wounds from the Psionic Parasitism detachment rule, it regains up to twice that number of lost wounds instead. Also should note that rules as written, it doesn't say that your unit has to take... How do I put this? Your unit has to take the mortal wounds, right? Like, point blank period. But it doesn't say they have to have enough wounds to give a heal. And I think a better way, if I roll, let's say I roll max, I have to take 4 mortal wounds, even if there's only 1 person standing. Okay? So my 1 wound neophyte dies. Or do they have 2? Either way, neophyte dies. However, this roll should still go through as 4 to my Tyranids unit, because it didn't ask me regains up to the amount of wounds lost. It says that many lost wounds. So, technically, this number just means the amount of mortal wounds you take and the amount of heals you can gain. That's technically what that would mean. If somebody, if that becomes a rules lawyer situation, let me know, but rules is written, and I'm assuming intended, it just means that whatever you roll on the dice +1 gives you both the wounds you have to take and the heals you can get. Synaptic Augur lets you regain up to twice that number of lost wounds instead. Now, that's the tricky part with this, where it says lost wounds, where if I rolled a 4, if this is, it's a tricky one, right? Because how that's written would say that it regains up to twice that number of lost wounds instead. So it's not necessarily the mortal wounds, it's the wounds that were lost out of a unit. So to that point, if you only lost 2, now you can gain 4. But with the way this is written, if you rolled 4, you can gain 8. So I don't know. I would assume that it's based on this number applying to everything. That would be the simplest way. But sometimes GW makes things harder on themselves. Enraptured Damnation, 10 points. GSC model only. Oh, I should have mentioned Tyranids model only. GSC model only for Enraptured Damnation, 10 points. Enemy units cannot use the Fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at the bearer's unit for 10 points. Nice. Nice points filler. Vanguard Tyrant makes me salty. 25 points. Winged Hive Tyrant model only. Improve the strength and AP characteristics of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 1. Pretty sure unless I really am forgetting something, there's only one other way to increase AP in the entire Tyranids Codex, and that's with Power of the Hive Mind for the Neuro Tyrant, because it's the only model that it can apply to. So, if you want any melee AP increase for your Tyranids model, guess what? You have to play GSC. That's kind of fucked. Mm. But hey, this will take you to 10-3-3 for 6 attacks, or for what I want to say 9 attacks. We'll get to the data sheet. 9 attacks at 8-3-2. And I have to explain that because I've already seen some misinterpretations on like Reddit and stuff of how this will play out. But you know, it's people that weren't necessarily Tyranids players before this. In human integration, 20 points. GSC model only. Weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit have sustained hits 1 ability while targeting an enemy unit within 6 inches of one or more friendly Tyranids units. So, your Tyranid unit is up the board, right? You're getting +1 to hit, and with this, while targeting an enemy unit that is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Tyranid units. So, again, you don't have to be next to the Tyranids unit as it's written. This is goofy. This is great, but it's goofy. The enemy unit has to be within 6 inches of one or more friendly Tyranids unit. Sustained hits 1. Also, I'm going to try to kind of blast through them because I know there are very dedicated Tyrannid, well, Tyranids too, GSC creators. So I don't want to step too hard on toes while they give you the better results. But as the Tyranids, not the as a Tyranids guy, yapping on the internet, I will tell you the things that look really good from my perspective, and then probably put both of our perspectives together and make something great. Um, because you know my image of GSC is limited. I actually got to hit up my friend who plays GSC, and that's going to be a further discussion. But neither here nor there. Hyper ferocity, battle tactic, fight phase, 1 CP. 1 GSC unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, reroll a wound roll of 1. If one or more friendly Tyranid units are within 6 inches of that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So again, now this is the fight phase, so no range shenanigans. But they have to be 6 inches within the enemy next to Tyranids. Not you next to Tyranids. Enemy next to Tyranids. Divine Imperative. Your charge phase. 1 GSC unit from your army that has not been selected to declare a charge this phase, that has not declared a charge this phase. Select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of 1 or more Tyranids units from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time your Genestealer coach unit declares a charge, if that enemy unit is one of the targets of that charge, add 1 to the charge rolls made for your unit, and you can reroll the charge roll. 1 CP, that's good. And I'm so excited to show you the next 2 data sheets. Psi Surge. Start of any phase. 1 Tyranid unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, increase the range of your unit's Catalyst ability by 3 inches. Restrictions. Each time you use this stratagem until the end of your next command phase, you cannot use this stratagem again. So, this expands to 9 inches around a Tyranid unit they are having +1 to hit against. Darting attacks. This is it's so cracked. Your shooting phase or your charge phase. 1 Tyranids unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. Avenge the Star Children. 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has shot or fought. 1 Tyranid's character unit from your army that was destroyed by that enemy unit this phase. You can use the stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Until the end of the battle, each time a Genestealer Cult model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. So, For 1 CP, you have just a perma debuff for the rest of the fight, for the rest of the battle, that you don't need something around for you to have +1 to hit against them, and you get +1 to wound. Resistance tunnels. End of your opponent's fight phase. 1 GSC or Tyrant unit from your army that is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into strat reserves. This is nice. Most of the shit that can be taken in this list has Deep Strike or some shenanigans from the Tyrant side, and GSC, like all of your data sheets, have Deep Strike. So why am I so excited? Remember, once again, you just have to be within 6 inches of the enemy. If you are here from my Tyrannage monstrosities, thanks for checking out this one. And also, you might know where I'm going. If you aren't a Tyrannage player, take a guess. Don't put it in the comments. Like, don't save the comment right now. But in the comments, say yes or no if you get the unit I'm about to tell you is going to be the best for this detachment. Just take a second, think about what it is going to be, and then when I reveal it, go ahead and type yes or no. You can also follow up and tell me if you agree or disagree, but just give me the yes or no if you get where I'm going with this, if I'm that predictable. So, the best unit you will be taking for Final Day. You will be able to take a few of them too. Winged Tyrannid Prime and Gargoyles. Why? Winged Tyrannid Prime is a Synapse character that is a Vanguard Invader with Deep Strike. While this model is leading a unit, weapons equipped by models in that unit have sustained hits 1. Its infantry can fly. If this model is destroyed by a melee attack, if it has not fought this phase, roll 1d6 on a 4-up, fight on death. Gargoyles, Deep Strike. Same spiel, except the character. Winged Swarm. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, if it is not within engagement range of any enemy units, it can make a normal move of up to 6 inches. If it does, until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge. Okay, so check it out. To turn on the detachment, you need to be, your Tyrannage need to be within 6 inches of an enemy unit. Then your GSC gets to target that enemy unit with +1 to hit. Deep Strike, shoot, and scoot. You are now probably 3 inches away from your opponent. Probably. Okay? That turns on the army rule. Okay, check it out. Still following? Your GSC units are now +1 to hit versus whatever is around, oh, I don't know, maybe 20 gargoyles and a Winged Tyrannid Prime? And hell, for the fuck of it, if you do want to heal some other Tyrannage model, well, Winged Tyrannid Prime is Synapse, but it gets better. So, on top of this, this is so fucking goofy. On top of this, because, well, that's the fight phase. So we'll go into a phase that's actually a little bit earlier that I'm more excited about. Avenge the Star Children. 1 Tyrannage character unit. If they lift the pretty easy to lift Winged Tyrannid Prime and Gargoyles, maybe you don't go with the full 20 block, right? Just make it easy for them. 1 CP, they are +1 to hit and wound for the rest of the game. Rest of the game. Okay? Also, if it happened in melee, your Winged Tyrannid Prime has the chance of fighting on death, so get a few more last digs in there. And while we were in the fight phase, you know, reroll wound rolls of 1. Since there's Tyrannage around, reroll the entire wound roll. Just straight up twin linked for 1 CP. Or maybe you might enjoy a situation such as getting your Winged Tyrannid Prime and the Gargoyles eventually into melee, right? Proc this too. But just like the fucking Lion's Blade Task Force, this is the Ravenwing Deathwing, where your Bio Wing, Hive Mind Wing, I don't know, your Tyrannage Wings, go into there, get into, tag a bunch of shit, okay? You don't care what they do because it cost you 65 plus 85 probably. And now your GSC unit, maybe Abominant and Aberrance, is +1 to charge and able to reroll the charge. Maybe it's your Patriarch and Genestealers. They didn't say you couldn't bring those. They said that you can't sacrifice those. You can still bring them within this. And because they made that change, into which character, so you can take enhancements, maybe you give them Sustained Hitch 1. Reroll some runes, get some dev wounds, and they infiltrated, deep stroke, all these things, right? All those good things. And then darting attacks. This is good, and I'm going to spoil something I was saving for a Synaptic Nexus video. But they aren't the toughest of melee fighters. Their shooting isn't that great either, right? However, what can happen is that with fallback, shoot, and charge, you can pull them out of combat. Then your whatever other guns can use blast versus whatever your target was that got tied up. Big guns never tire rules. Like, you just had to tag a vehicle and they have to hit the fucking thing in it, like in the unit that's tagging them. It's fucked. Okay? So you tag with gargoyles, darting attacks, fall back, shoot. Maybe you don't want to fail the fallback charge. Maybe they had a reactive move. I don't know, right? But then charge into, actually, it doesn't even have to be that unit that you did this for that open fire. You give them fallback, shoot, and charge, and it's your shooting phase or your charge phase. If they just fail back, because the shooting, everybody's like, but there's no fucking shooting in Vanguard Invader Tyrannage. Who gives a fuck? If you tag something with gargoyles, okay, so that you could get all the nice bonuses, +1 to hit, right? All that shit. They couldn't move, yada yada yada. You fall back, destroy that unit. You now give your gargoyles that were probably in a decent position shoot and charge after they fell back to prime that target. They can shoot, not use their ability, because they don't have to use their ability, and then charge another target and do it all again. This is the one. And I should also say, I was saying the Wing Tyrant Prime, so you can use the Synapse part and the character part, but you don't have to do that. You could just take a bunch of fucking gargoyles, because they're battle line. You can just take a bunch of fucking gargoyles to turn on most of these rules. Bam, 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 and do what I just specified. This detachment is going to get my motherfucking Wing Tyrant Prime and gargoyles nerfed. Because that's fucked. They are Vanguard Invaders. You are using them to prime shit. You aren't using Vanguard Invaders to do damage. We don't even get to do that. Fucking hell. Why would I suggest you bring the Neurolictor? Monster, it's you don't get +1 to wound for GSC. That is true. However, after clogging up the fucking board with gargoyles, or before, let's just talk about that for a second, right? The Neurolictor still is an infiltrating lone up with stealth and a 4-up invulnerable save, okay? If an enemy unit is battle shocked within a foot of this model, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That battle shock can come from anywhere, and GSC has ways to make battle shock tests happen. I'm just putting this here because I've broken it down from Tyrannid units to GSC units, because I know this part better than I know this part. And then, on the flip side, you now have Tyranid models that are +1 to wound versus that battle shock target. Whatever that may be out of the Vanguard Invader. So, even if it's not good, 20 fucking shots, sustained hits 1, +1 to wound, is annoying. You might not hit all of them, but +1 to wound, you're getting some chip damage. That's just example number 1. But we have some other shit. So it doesn't care how they're battle shocked as long as they're battle shocked around a foot. And whenever it happens. If you have some other shenanigans that battle shocked within a foot of this, now that enemy, again the enemy, is -1 to hit into whatever shit they're trying to shoot from you, shoot, fight, whatever. It doesn't say into Tyrannid models, into Tyrannid units. You want to take a Neurolictor. Maybe 2. Death Leaper. This is the one that you're probably like, well, I could do it for 10 points cheaper. Not quite. But still better than a Lictor, right? Just straight up better. That's hard to argue. Especially because, well, I'll talk about that in a second. Death Leaper is still a T6, 3 up save, 4 up invuln, 7 wound. Fights first, infiltrating, lone up stealth. Model that still will give you feeder tendrils. Each time this model destroys an enemy character model, you gain 1 CP. It has precision. 6 attacks hitting on 2, strength 7, AP 2, damage 2. It will still give you precision. And then this is another part of the individual model thing that, yeah, if you want to sacrifice a GSC unit, you heal up Death Leaper. A lot of people will tell you, Death Leaper is a little bit annoying to try to get out the way. So you bring in Death Leaper, probably. But also with Fear of the Unseen, while an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, worsen the leadership characteristic of models in that unit by 1. In addition, in the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if such an enemy unit is below its starting strength, it must take a battle shock test. If it's the opponent's phase, battle shock, you're playing GSC, you're pretty cheap. You have points kind of to spare. So this is the 80 to start turning on the 90. Possibly. But also, -1 to leadership for the other battle shock test that we will get to, I promise. Winged Hive Tyrant. Now, this is where it gets a little bit steep. That's why it's later in the list of you can go without it, but not for the reason you might think. People are going to remind you that you can only turn one of the Tyrannid units cheaper by 1, which will come in handy to use something like Avenge the Star Children, or Psy Surge, or Dart and Attacks. That will come in handy. However, the other part of the Winged Hive Tyrant is Paroxysm. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within a foot of and visible to this model, and roll 1d6. On a 1, this Psyker suffers d3 mortal wounds, so if you did take some mortal wounds from failing this roll, you can heal it. Character Psyker, Synapse. Okay, cool. But if you roll a 2 up, until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from the attack's characteristics of weapons equipped by models in that unit. This is a better Vanguard Onslaught than what we have. Okay, people might be upset at me for saying that because I'm not very high on Vanguard Onslaught anymore. But you tag some shit, they have -1 attacks characteristic, possibly -1 to hit, while being +1 to hit against, possibly +1 to wound from some other sources. If you want to take the enhancement, this is where I should specify, okay? The Tyrant Talons are the little feats. That's what comes on the bottom of the Tyrant. It's not this. So, you will either get 6 attacks with the enhancement going to 10, because Synapse specifically says, while your army faction is Tyrannid. So with the enhancement, you go to 10, 3, 3. Or, if you kitted out a full melee Tyrant with these, you have 9 attacks at 8, 3, 2. Honestly, I don't think it's that worth it on this to make it 10, 3, 3 for right now, because you have other things in GSC that do probably that for more than 6 attacks. You can just save the 20 points probably. But that's my 2 cents on that. Going forward, Von Ryan sleepers. I can't stop gushing about these little fellas. And it's funny that I have this video pre-recorded. Not this video, a Von Ryan sleepers video. Spoiler to any of the Tyrannage monstrosities here. And it might look like their stocks just went up again. Well, why would I tell you to bring Leapers when you have the option of all this other shit? You can target this unit with Heroic Intervention for 0 CP. And can do so even if you have already used that stratagem on a different unit this phase. With Fights First, Infiltrating Stealth, and 10 inches of movement, you can find ways to use that Heroic Intervention for an infantry unit to then turn on, once again, the army rule that only asks you to be within 6 inches of enemy with your Tyrannid. So then your GSC units can make attacks at +1 to hit. And again, turn on some of the other shit like this. Fall back and charge, don't really need it, but, it's there. But for 0 CP, you will find, this is the other half of where all the synergies are. I was looking through everything. You can play this game with so little stratagem cost of command points. If you do shit like Von Ryan's Leapers, some of the GSC will get into, bring a Winged Hive Tyrant, you will find a lot of ways to not spend any CP. This is fucking insane. Going on to the Moloch. There's Uppy Downy with Mortal Wounds because of Terror from the Deep. Each time this model is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within a foot of this model. On a 2 through 4, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 5 up, 3 mortal wounds and a battle shot test. It's a T10 monster, 3 up save, 14 wounds. This might be why you would look to heal and give +1 to hit for your Tyrannid's model. With the Moloch Scything Talons, you have 16 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 8, AP 2, damage 1. You have abilities to clear out this profile, but if you want to just do wounds and possibly get more battle shock test off with resistance tunnels, Moloch is probably the option. I'm not going through all the Vanguard Invaders. I don't think I said that at the beginning. Just the ones I think you will probably bring. Unfortunately, with Trigon going to 6 inches, I don't think, and for being 5 points more than a Moloch, I don't think it's worth bringing here just for the 923 profile. Lictors. Let me explain why I don't think you go for Lictors. Often, you can still bring them, but I think everything else I just showed has higher priority with my bias of being anti-Lictor aside. Like, this is genuine, just think about it for a second with me, and then if you could tell me to fuck off, whatever, right? Steel has same Death Leafer profile there, no invuln, yada yada yada. Fights First, Infiltrating, Lone Op, Stealth. You can have Feeder Tendrils again, so you could get CP. The reason why I say you probably don't want to bring a Lictor is because it does not have Deep Strike, and once per battle round you can target one model with this ability with the Rapid Ingress stratagem for free. Well, for 0 CP, right, to be more accurate. This does not say, this is the common mistake a lot of people mean, and I will keep reiterating every time I talk about the Lictor. It does not say you can use it even if somebody else used it. So if you Rapid Ingress a Deep Striking GSC unit, you will not be able to Rapid Ingress the Lictor, and vice versa. If you Rapid Ingress your Lictor on the battle edge, on the board edge, because it does not have Deep Strike, and there's no way to give it Deep Strike, you will not be able to Rapid Ingress something else that might have Deep Strike and be better. I do not suggest the Lictor. Now, if you just want the Lone Op part, the Infiltrating Lone Op part, go ahead. But to that point, if you want the Infiltrating, please look at the Von Ryan Sleepers for 10 points more. Won't have Lone Op, will have free Heroic Intervention, 10-inch movement to turn on your army rule. Or your detachment rule. I need to stop saying army rule. Then we go to the GSC side. The Patriarch. it's of course you're bringing the Patriarch, right? With Might from Beyond, while this model is leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have devastating wounds. We've already discussed a way to get reroll wounds. At the start of your fight phase, each enemy unit within a foot of this model, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, within 6 inches of this model must take a battle shock test. This will turn on shit like your Neurolictor Aura for the rest of your Tyrannid units to now have +1 to wound versus. I'm just saying. And then with Psychic Familiar, once per battle at the start of the fight phase, this model can use its Psychic Familiar. If it does, until the end of the phase, add another 6 inches to the range of its Cosmic Core ability. This is where you can get to a foot. Dev wounds, 5 attacks on the Patriarch alone. Okay? The squad has Deep Strike and Infiltrators. So, you can already infiltrate them alongside the Von Ryan's Leapers, alongside the Neurolictor, to turn on this strategy. For 75 points for the Patriarch, for 75 points with the Pure Strain Genestealers, who, this unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. Oh goodness. So, no hit rerolls, but on the Patriarch, since it's no longer an epic hero, you can take enhancements. Please consider putting on Inhuman Integration for Sustained Hitch 1. Sustained Hitch 1, Dev Wounds. Possibly Twin Linked. +1 to hit. But don't really need that, because you hit on 2s. But if there is a -1 to hit, go ahead. Just nullify it. This is already getting good. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought I closed it out. Because what I'm going to do moving forward for some of the units of GSC Highlight is that you, uh, if the bodyguard unit doesn't necessarily do something that needs to be thoroughly explained, I'm going to just let it rock. Cool? Cool. Achilles Ridge Runners gives you Crossfire. The thing that I hear GSC players always miss. Crossfire. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those effects until the end of the turn. Each time a friendly GSC unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. The same enemy unit can only be affected by this ability once per turn. Cool. Also have Survey Augur if you want to attach it. Each time the bearer's unit has shot, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more attacks made this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a friendly GSC model makes an attack against that unit, that attack has the ignores cover. And since you go probably with 2 models for the unit, you can take the other model with a spotter. The bearer's ranged weapons have a ballistic skill characteristic of a 3-up. A 3-up +1 to hit. To activate Crossfire and Survey Augur. So 3-up on the range skill, +1 to hit means you're hitting on 2s. Stripping cover from things like 48 inches out. Doesn't have to be indirect, you can just do it. And then improving the AP of the rest of your units. You're taking the Achilles Ridge Runner. That also has Scouts 9. While you have a bunch of infiltrators, so that you're getting up the board with that Scouts 9. The Abominant. This will be one example of I didn't put the Aberrants, because there's nothing more to say besides the Abominant and the Aberrants hit like a fucking truck. They're tanky. They have that whole strength greater than toughness, -1 to wound situation. The Abominant, while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit is destroyed by a melee attack, 4-up fight on death, and regenerating Gene Mass. The first time this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase. On a 2-up, set this model back up on the battlefield as close as possible where it was destroyed, but not within engagement range of any enemy units with its full wounds remaining. Cool. You're bringing this unit. You have something to charge, +1 to hit. Probably. So they go to hitting on 2s. Maybe you want to do the sustained here. I don't think it's quite necessary, but it is very funny. Um, put that there. And meanwhile, maybe you give the Patriarch and the Pure Strain Genestealers no Overwatch on them while they get up the board. +1 to charge. Reroll the charge. Reroll the wounds on this unit if you feel that's needed while you're already hitting on 2s. Yeah. Yeah. This is looking scary. Jackal Alphys. Gargoyles, light. I don't know if you bring both of them. I still vouch for Gargoyles first. However, I think it will be really fucking funny that with priority targeting, your shooting phase after this model's unit has shot, select one enemy hit by one or more of those attacks made with a Colt sniper rifle. Until the end of phase, each time a friendly GSC model makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, reroll hit rolls of 1. The Tyranids are giving you +1 to hit. And Master Outrider in your shooting phase after this model's unit has shot. If it is not within engagement range, another scoop with the Atlan Jackals. So let's just review one more time. Tyranids next to enemies. Anything that is targeting those enemies gets +1 to hit. Reroll hit rolls of 1. 2 units that can shoot and scoop. And do the boop. Alright, cool. Pretty nice. They also have scouts. So again, with all the infiltrating, you're getting up the board. Goliath Truck. This is a dedicated transport for the other shit that doesn't have scout. Fire support. In your shooting phase after this model has shot, select one enemy unit it scored a hit against. It scored 1 or more hits against this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. So, this is a lot of circle jerking, but there is a world where you are rerolling hit rolls of 1, rerolling wound rolls versus a target that just, to make it simpler, is +1 to hit and wound against, possibly doesn't have cover. Yeah, okay. And +1 AP. Don't know if you ever need all of that on one unit, but I'm just saying you can do these things. The Clamavis. Why would I recommend the Clamavis? In your command phase, one model from your army with this ability can use it. If it does, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of it. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test. Please see the previous ramblings of battle shock test with this whole strategy. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within a foot of this model. Not the highest of priorities. I didn't really order the GSC ones now that I think about it. I was excited about the Tyrant half, of course. But I should go back to the Neurolictor to just say, this will possibly give you shit like a Winged Hive Tyrant. Strength 10, +1 to wound when hitting a battle shock target around a Neurolictor. With 6 attacks that are twin linked. So shit like that. Or Von Ryan's Leapers that heroic intervene for free and fights first versus a battle shock target. That's where I'm going with this, right? Don't have to bring it, but there's that Clamavis. And maybe you attach Acolyte hybrids with Hand Flamers, which I was like, there's no way you take Hand Flamers when you want to be +1 to hit, like Flamer's auto hit. But then I saw what they do. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If the attack of that target is an enemy unit within range of an objective marker, you can reroll the entire wound roll. With the Cult Icon, you can bring back some destroyed models. Yeah, with demo charges, I'm just saying, I thought these were called Hand Flamers, right? You can still have demo charges. For every 5 models in this unit, up to 2 Acolyte hybrids can each have their Hand Flamer replaced with demo charges. That Assault, Blast, Hazardous, D6 attacks, probably hitting on 4s. And remember that shoot and scoot fall back and charge thing I talked about with the gargoyles? Yeah. Now, the range is 8 inches, so it's not like you can probably deep strike them and do that, I don't think. There's probably a movement shenanigan I'm not thinking of to do this with. But, demo charges, hitting on 4s, D6 blast, that 922? Huh. Okay. That's a little bit scary. And then outside of that, oh, I should also mention you can reroll the wound rolls of 1 regardless. It is hazardous and has 1 shot, but it is assault. So you could just run up and throw these. But then also, if you still have the melee profile to work with, you can still do the melee profile to work with. And I looked at the Magus. You can unbattle shock a unit, but we're also looking for mind control. Fitting, right? At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, one Psyker model from your army with this ability can use it. If used, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of that Psyker model and roll 1d6 on a 1, d3 mortal wounds to the Psyker model on a 2 through 5, until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. On a 6, each time a model in that enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll and subtract 1 from the wound roll. And remember when I said the Winged Hive Tyrant Paroxysm? Yeah, you can make it so that they're -1 to hit, -1 to wound, -1 attacks characteristic in an ideal scenario. Psychic Familiar. Once per battle at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, this model can use its Psychic Familiar. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 6 to the range of its mind control ability. So it was 18 inches. Yeah, so up to 2 feet out, you can have a Magus that does this. That's 50 points that I might not even attach to the rest of the shit. Just solo bolo. Oh my goodness. If you're going with a Winged Hive Tyrant. But with what I just explained, I don't know what points look like. I don't even think I have a. Is there a way to? I don't. I know you on the app you can't. I don't know. I'll have to see what points, write them down the old fashioned way, right? But hello? Just take some Maguses, deep strike them. Who gives a fuck? Primus. While this model is leading a unit, you can reroll the hit roll, +1 to hit. That one just seemed very simple. If this is the other thing, I almost wrote off why I put this here, but I remember again now why. Decoys and misdirection. If your army includes one or more models with this ability, after both players have deployed their army, select up to 3 GSC units from your army and redeploy them. When doing so, you can set them up in strategic reserves if you wish, regardless of how many units are already in strat reserves. With so many gargoyles and maybe the Winged Hive Tyrant and Deep Strike and shit like that, your reserves are going to get full, and you do still have a cap. And then playing GSC, you have Deep Strike, so your reserves probably are going to get full. I suggest a Primus so that you can start 3 things on the board. I don't know if you could tell, but I am using air quotes. And then put them into strat reserves regardless of how many points are there to use their Deep Strike later. The Nexus. Once per battle round, one model from your army with this ability can use it when it is selected for the target of a stratagem. If it does, reduce the CP cost of that strat by 1. Literally just to attach to some shit, probably like the hand flamers we talked about. So that way, remember when I said you could just use a lot of shit for free? You have Nexus reducing 1 CP on that front. You have Winged Hive Tyrant reducing CP for a Tyrannage unit on that front. You have Death Leaper, Lictors possibly giving you another CP. And we have another thing that can do something for free. Oh, and the Von Rheinsleeper's Heroic Intervention for free. All of the Von Rheinsleepers you bring. The reductive sabator. In your shooting phase, you can select one model from your army with this ability as the target of the grenade strat for 0 CP, provided that model has not already been the target of that stratagem this phase. 0 CP, grenades. 0 CP, probably one other thing. 0 CP, heroic intervention. Fuck it, we'll say the Lictor. 0 CP, rapid ingress. -1 CP, Winged Hive Tyrant rule somewhere. Possibly gaining CPs from Death Leaper or a Lictor. Now, the reductive sabator also has once per battle. When an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches of this model can use its reductive mine. If it does, roll 1d6 on a 2-up. That enemy unit suffers D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. Only one model from your army with this ability can use it in the same battle round. 65 points. It is an infiltrating, deep striking stealth lone up with a 5-up invulnerable save for 65 points. Oh, wait. Also gets demo charges. I probably should have said that too. Their assault blast one shot. That can now hit on 2s from the reductive sabator. And grenades for free after you throw the demo charges. Not after literally, but in another turn. So I'm going to cut it there. I might be asking to borrow my friend's GSC codex. He might be asking to borrow my Tyrant codex. I'm going to cut it there so that both the other Tyrant channels have something to discuss thoroughly, and the GSC channels have something to discuss thoroughly. Feel free to ask me questions, probably about this side. That's the one that I am readily able to discuss. This side, probably, you already know probably where to go. Actually, alright, sorry for the weird cut. Not only did I have a brain blast that, it'll take me no time to just add in where to go because not everybody actually knows where to go for GSC sometimes. I know you could just search on YouTube, but these are people that I've watched and taken information in from. So, throwing this in like I would do in my other videos where I talk about places to go for people more knowledgeable on the subject. For GSC stuff, check out 40K VTuber Christian Von Carmen. Knows a lot of GSC and sisters. For probably going to have a video about this, I would imagine. Nexus Floof. They also have GSC videos, as you can see. 6++ Gaming. I've talked about them for Bug Watch, but they also have things like They Came From Below. Sometimes Danny Porter's there. Has he been to all of them? I don't remember. But there's that. And StatCheck has Ennis, who has been doing mean things to people with GSC as well as Floof. You can see examples like there. So yeah, those are places to go for people that know more about the GSC side. It's a bit more niche, but I imagine that you already knew some of those, and if you didn't, here's more of them. Yeah, this detachment is pretty nice if you didn't get that from my excitement. Not only is it very flavorful. Not gonna lie, when I first heard that it was Vanguard only, I was like, oh, that's kind of bad. And then I heard what you could do with them, and I was like, oh, you're not actually using the Vanguard invaders. You can use a Moloch or a Winged Hive Tyrant if you really want to try to get some, well, I guess a Trigon or Winged Hive Tyrant if you want damage 3 somehow. But beyond that, I think the things that I've highlighted here are a little bit better than the things that might be able to done. Either way, these are all the combo pieces that I initially found on day 1 as somebody that kind of knows Tyranids and doesn't really know GSC. So I will now be texting my friend and asking him how he feels about this. But yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.